Hello YouTube, this is Vivex, and today I'm going to bring you a deck profile of my Frog Monarch deck. And I'm just going to talk about it a little bit, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it, but this is my deck. Alright, to start off the very heavy monster count, we got the Frog Engine, which is triple Swap Frog, triple Dupe Frog, double Rodent Totem, and double Treeborn. Alright, so in terms of the Frog lineup, let me just explain a little bit. The triple Swap Frog is standard. You would never run less than 3 Swap Frog in any Frog build. The triple Dupe Frog, I like it because it gives more targets for Rodent Totem. It's an extra searcher for your Swap Frog, and it's just another high defender to say no to Thunder King, and so that's why I run 3. I run 2, not 1 Rodent Totem, just because it has the ability. It lets you have the ability to go into more than one Gachi. You can use both of them just to make one. But if you have another frog, like let's say Swap Frog or something, you can at least make 2. And 2 Treeborn Frogs, I don't think that 1 would work. You need to run 2 in this deck because in Frog Monarch you're relying a lot to have sacrifice materials, and so if the 1 Treeborn Frog you have gets DD Crowed, then you're kind of screwed. Unless you play smart off a Rodent Totem, but I believe 2 is very important and 3 is very cloggy. So in terms of the Frog lineup, that's only 10 monsters. And then for the sacrifices, we got triple Light and Darkness Dragon, or Lad. I believe 3 is very essential to this deck. Some people try to run 2, but I am really liking 3. And the reason behind that is this card, it really makes your opponent minus and think about how they're going to get over it, because Light and Darkness Dragon just really wrecks a lot of decks, just because it's a beater when it comes out, and it makes your opponent minus their cards, their effects, to get a lower attack and defense to run over it, or just to kill it with anything I have. So it makes your opponent minus a lot, and then when it does get destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you get to nuke your field and special summon a monster, pretty much another high attack monster from your graveyard. And so I believe 3, just people get wrecked by this card, and so it's great. Next we got triple Caius and triple Ryza for the Monarch part of the engine. And I believe these are 2 of the best Monarchs, and the reason why is because Caius, when it's summoned, it mandatory gets effect unless you solemn warning it, to remove from play 1 card in the field, and so that gets rid of Zen mains or anything else your opponent has. And Ryza is like Caius in the same way, except that it top decks a card, and so if you know what you're doing, you could also use Ryza to control where your opponent draws just a little bit, like have them dead draw next turn. And so I believe triple Ryza and triple Caius is just oh so important. Next we got 1 Vanity's Fiend. I was originally running 2, but I thought 2 was just not working out in terms of I'd rather have less sacrifice monsters rather than more, and so 1 works out pretty well when I have it. It destroys a lot of decks because they can't special, and it's just nice at 1. You could try to run 2 if you want, but I didn't like it. And then 1 Dark Dust Spirit to round off the sacrifice monsters, and I really like this guy because high attack monsters are a problem for me. So Elemental Hero the Shining is just so difficult for me to get around. There are a couple ways I can get around it, and this is one of them. This guy is basically a dark hole every turn as long as you have Treeborn in graveyard, and so for that reason I really like him. For the hand traps, I run triple Maxi, Now, I have not seen Maxi in any of the builds on YouTube, and I really think that Maxi is underplayed, and most people only run 2 or 1 in other decks, but the reason why I run 3 is because this deck is really lacking draw power. Like, the only draw power you get is your 1 draw every turn, and that is very slow, and slow is not an option in this format. Triple Maxi, it works, and is not really dead in hand, because you can just sit on it for a while, and that just adds to the attack points of the 2 Trag that you run. And so, Trag, I think, is highly versatile in terms of you can use it to just boost up its attack if you want to play off a Trag. You can use it to steal a monster. You can do so many things with Trag, and I just absolutely love 2 Trag in this build. And the 3 Maxis, it adds so much draw power, especially with like wind-ups or Inzectors that are still playable. I don't know how, but they are, and so that's perfect. And then, of course, for the last hand trap, you run 1 Gores. It's self-explanatory. Gores, well, you have no cards on field, which is quite often considering your field mostly consists of like 1 or 2 sacrifice monsters. You can just drop Gores and make your opponents think about what they're going to do next. And so I really like the hand traps I currently have, and the Grandmaster Hanzo tins that I opened really helped me play those Triple Maxi. I've been wanting to do that for a while. That's it for the monsters, is 27. And then for the spells, we run Triple Enemy Controller. This card is one of my other options for high attack monsters like the Shining. For those of you who do know, it is the Treeborn loop on standby phase, where you special summon Treeborn Frog, activate enemy controller still during the standby phase, tributing Treeborn to take control of one of their monsters, and then re-specialing Treeborn Frog. A couple of times I've done this in a tournament, and people are like, whoa, how are you doing that? And I have to explain it to them, and they still don't believe me, so please don't be one of those people. If you see Frog Monarchs or Lancer Frogs in a tournament or something, just know that you can do that. And so this allows me to sack one of their monsters for Lad main phase 2 after, of course, attacking them with it so they don't kill their own monster right away, and so I inflict some damage. So usually I get rid of their monster by sacking it main phase 2. But that's what I do with Econ. I very rarely use it as a defense card, but you'd be surprised that happens. And then I run Triple Mystical Space Typhoon. I felt like the 3 was absolutely needed because I cannot afford to get wrecked by back row. I need my frogs to get off. I need them to do their stuff and get Treeborn Frog, Runta, and Dupe Frogs all engraved, so that I can sacrifice for my Kaises, my Raizas, and all that good stuff. And so I cannot let back row ruin me. It's just not an option. I play double Soul Exchange. This is my other answer for Beat Sticks. I will target their 1 monster and either sack another one of mine for Lad, or just use it for sack material. Of course, I do not get my battle phase, but I do get rid of at least 2 of their cards, because I get rid of their Beat Stick with Soul Exchange as my target, and then if I sack for Kaiser Ryza, that's another card they lose. Or if I sack for Dark Dust Spirit, they lose all other monsters they control. And so Soul Exchange is beautiful. 3 gets cloggy for me, and so I run 2. And then for the one-offs, we run the staples Monster Born, Heavy Storm, and Dark Hole. Very playable in this deck because you don't run any back rows, and so Heavy Storm is highly versatile, and plus it gets rid of the back row threat. Dark Hole, you have very few monsters on field, and so you do not want your opponent to maintain field advantage, so you'll Dark Hole them or Dark Death Spirit. And then Monster Reborn, it's just pretty basic. You can get one of your monsters back, you can get one of their monsters back. It's just very standard in the way you'd use Monster Reborn. And then the other 2 one-offs are Foolish Burial and Pot of Avarice. I really like Pot of Avarice. If I'm going through my sacrifice monsters way too fast, I will Pot of Avarice them, and maybe 1 or 2 frogs. But mostly it's just sacrifice monsters, and so I'll put them back in deck and draw 2 cards, so that's very nice. And then Foolish Burial, the reason I tech this card is because I need to make sure that I see that Treeborn Frog at least once during the game, and so Foolish Burial is like the 4th swap frog for me. I need to make sure I have that Treeborn at least, and so that's the deck, 40 cards. The extra deck, you can leave it as you want, but besides my token, you run triple Gachi because you can play these a lot, and I don't have it, but if you do, play at least 1 or 2 Daigusto Phoenix or Shining Elf. Any other good level 2s, you have so much space in the extra deck, so you can play around with that as you please, but Gachi is essential. And so with that, that is my Frog Monarch build. I hope you enjoyed it, or at least got something out of it. And so I will talk to you guys next time.